Assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To all my beloved brothers and sisters in Allah, welcome with all the warmth of sincerity and the light of faith. You are not here by coincidence. You are here by divine will, by a call written long before this moment. Know that your presence is honored, your heart is seen, and your journey is sacred. We gather here not just as listeners or viewers, but as seekers of truth, healing, and nearness to the most merciful. May this moment be a turning point for your soul. May these words reach the parts of your heart that have been waiting in silence. And may Allah illuminate your path with guidance, patience, and peace. There are moments in life when silence weighs heavily on the heart. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and the pain of waiting becomes a test few can understand. You pray and you cry. You stay patient and hold on. You remind yourself of the promise of Allah, but the question remains in your soul. When will it end? When will the relief come? When will the answers unfold? Sometimes it feels like the heavens are silent and your voice echoes into the void. But what if that silence is not the absence of an answer? What if it is a sign, a message, a whisper from the unseen realm that your waiting period is almost over, that you are closer to relief than you think? Sometimes Allah does not speak with words. He speaks with signs. And if you learn to recognize them, you will see that your path has already begun to shift. Today, we will explore 10 signs that show Allah may be telling you something beautiful behind the scenes, that your struggle is not forgotten, that your tears are counted, that your waiting is not wasted. This journey is for every soul standing on the edge of surrender, for every heart whispering, "I can't do this anymore," and yet still holding on just one more day. Before we begin, let me gently remind you, if you find peace, hope, or strength in this message, take a moment and subscribe to this channel, not just for yourself, but for the next soul who needs this reminder. Every share, every subscription becomes part of a silent chain of mercy. Now let us begin. Waiting is not just the absence of an answer. It is a divine space filled with purpose. A sacred pause in which the soul is refined and hearts are drawn closer to the Creator. What feels like a delay in this world may be an acceleration in your inner world. Allah does not let pain pass through your life without planting something greater in its place. Sometimes what you call waiting is actually Allah preparing you for what you asked for. In this silent moment when nothing seems to change, everything within you is being transformed. Every heartbeat carries a lesson. Every tear holds a wisdom, and every breath you take in patience is written by angels as worship. That is the mercy of the one who sees you. Even in your stillness, He is not ignoring you. He is drawing you near. When Allah makes you wait, it is never to harm you. It is to teach you how to walk with Him instead of rushing ahead on your own. It is to slow your steps until you can hear His voice in the silence and see His signs in the unseen. It is to empty your heart of all that distracts and fill it again with what truly matters. The waiting period is not a punishment. It is a classroom. It is not a distance. It is a bridge. When you feel forgotten, know that you are being remembered in a way deeper than words. When you feel delayed, know that your soul is being escorted through unseen gardens of patience and purification. You are not behind. You are being carried to the front in a way you cannot yet see. That is why the soul must be trained to trust not just the outcome, but the timing. Because Allah's timing is not based on the ticking of a clock, but the unfolding of His mercy. Waiting is not empty. When Allah places you in a season of silence, He is growing something in you that cannot be rushed. You are being carved with gentleness, strengthened with softness, polished with hardship, until you shine without knowing it. You may not feel the transformation, but it is happening. You may not see the destination, but every step is sacred. You may not hear the answer, but it is being written in the language of the unseen. There comes a moment in your waiting when nothing changes outside, but something begins to shift within. You wake up one morning and the burden feels lighter, not because your circumstances have changed, but because something in your soul has softened. You find yourself breathing more deeply, sleeping more calmly, thinking more clearly, and yet nothing in your situation has improved on the surface. That is the first sign. When Allah begins to bring your waiting period to an end, He sends peace before the solution. He sends sakina into your chest before the breakthrough arrives. That peace is not a coincidence. It is a sign from the one who controls hearts, that your du'as are being heard, that your soul is aligning with a wisdom greater than your plan. This kind of peace is not logical. You cannot explain it to others. You may not even be able to explain it to yourself. It is not tied to results. It is tied to trust. A trust that begins to rise inside of you like light entering a dark room. A trust that says, I do not see it, but I believe I do not understand it, but I accept I do not have it yet, but I know it's coming. The pain is still there, but it no longer defines you. The problem is still there, but it no longer frightens you. Something deeper has taken root, a stillness that wraps itself around your heart, like the embrace of your Lord. That stillness is a mercy. It is a reminder that before anything happens outside, Allah begins to prepare you inside. This peace is a preparation. It is the first fragrance of ease before the rain arrives. It is the soft breeze before the dawn. It is the whisper in your soul that says, you are seen, you are known. You are never alone. It is the sign that the doors of mercy are creaking open, and your soul has already started to walk through. When your heart begins to find peace without explanation, know that something beautiful is on its way, and know that this calm is not accidental. It is divine. It is the voice of Allah within your chest, telling you, gently, patiently, your waiting is almost over. There are seasons in life when the heart is covered in shadows. You walk through days that feel heavy and nights that echo with silence. You smile, but only out of habit. You speak, but without feeling, and you wonder if the light will ever return. You wait, not just for a solution, but for a reason to believe again. But then one day, without warning, something shifts. A thought, a moment, a word, a verse. And suddenly hope enters, like a single candle in a dark cave. It may be small, but it's enough to see again, enough to feel again, enough to breathe again. This is the second sign that your waiting is reaching its end, that Allah is sending you hope as a sign before the change. Even before the storm passes, He sends the breeze. Even before the sunrise, He allows the stars to appear. When you begin to hope again after months or even years of numbness, that is not random. That is the mercy of the one who restores the broken soul. That tiny spark of hope is sacred. Do not ignore it. Do not explain it away. It is a sign from Allah that your heart is still alive and that your story is still being written. Hope is one of the earliest visitors of relief. It does not always arrive with loudness or clarity. Sometimes it comes quietly disguised in a prayer. You whispered without strength, or in a tear, you cried without reason. It comes when Allah opens a window. Even if the doors are still closed, you may find yourself dreaming again, imagining again, feeling again, after a long period of silence. And you wonder, where did this come from? It came from the one who never left you. It came from the one who planted that hope as a seed and waited for the right moment to let it bloom. The return of hope is not weakness. It is a signal from the unseen. It is the echo of Allah's nearness. The whisper that says, I am still here, and you are still destined for beauty. When you feel that hope return, let it grow, protect it. Water it with prayer, shade it with patience, and let it stretch toward the sky. For it is a sign that your darkness has an end, and that the light is already on its way. There's a sacred moment that arrives without warning, a sudden weight in the heart, a soft ache that whispers, I want to return. You may not know why it happens. You may not even remember what triggered it, but you feel something awaken inside, a longing to be near to Allah again, a need to be cleansed not just from sins but from distance. This is one of the clearest signs that your waiting period is coming to an end, that Allah is opening a path for you from within, that He is calling you back, not as punishment, but as invitation. When the door of Tawbah opens, it is never by your power. It is a divine opening placed gently in your heart. You begin to feel sorrow for mistakes you once ignored. You start to regret what once made you numb. You feel the need to speak to your Lord again, not with eloquence, but with brokenness. And that brokenness becomes your key. Repentance is not just about guilt, it is about transformation. It is not only turning away from what harms, but turning toward what heals. The soul begins to clean itself. When it senses that light is approaching, it feels unworthy yet hopeful, ashamed yet yearning. That urge to repent, that sudden feeling of wanting to be better, of crying for no reason, of wanting to pray with sincerity, even if your voice shakes, is a sign that your waiting is being answered, that your inner world is being prepared for an outer breakthrough. When the doors of Tawbah open in your heart, they come with no noise but with deep impact. They clear the space between you and your Lord. They lift burdens you forgot you were carrying. They soften the sharp edges of the soul and return you to a state of humility. That humility is not weakness. It is your passport back to closeness. Repentance is not always spoken aloud. Sometimes it is felt in the ache of your chest, the wetness of your eyes, the silence of your sujud. It is written in the language of the heart and read by the one who knows every beat within you. So if you feel drawn to repentance after a long period of distance, do not ignore that feeling. It is a gift from the most merciful telling you, the gates are open. Come home. Your waiting is no longer a test, but a turning point. There are times when the world around you speaks a language that only your heart understands. You open a book and the words pierce straight through your soul. You hear a lecture and it echoes the very thoughts you've kept hidden. You scroll past a message and it feels as if it was written only for you. In these moments you pause, not because you're surprised, but because something inside you whispers, this is not random. This is the fourth sign, that Allah is responding to you in ways beyond sound and sight, that He is sending you reminders, not through miracles, but through moments, that He is speaking to you without a voice and guiding you without footsteps. When reminders begin to follow you, when certain verses return again and again, when a specific topic seems to appear, wherever you turn, that is not by chance. It is the gentle orchestration of the one who knows what you need before you even ask. You begin to notice a pattern not outside, but within. You read something and your chest tightens. You hear something and your tears fall. You sense that what you are encountering is more than coincidence. It is connection. It is the answer to a prayer you may have forgotten, but Allah did not. These signs are not always loud. They are soft. They require attention. They require stillness. And that stillness itself is part of the message. For Allah speaks to the hearts of those who pause long enough to listen. When Allah sends you reminders that speak directly to your condition, it means He is close. It means He is responding. It means He is guiding you from the unseen. It means your waiting period is no longer silent. It has begun to echo with divine presence. Pay attention to those moments. Do not scroll past them. Do not brush them away. Reflect on them. Hold them in your heart, for they are threads being woven into your path, threads of guidance, threads of mercy. And when the reminders become too frequent, too specific, too timely to be ignored, know that it is Allah telling you, I hear you, I see you, I am with you, and your waiting is already shifting toward relief. There comes a point in your waiting when your eyes no longer search for signs in the world, but begin to search for meaning in the unseen. What once gave you comfort now feels shallow. What once distracted you now feels empty. You find yourself longing for something deeper, something beyond what the world can offer. This shift is not sadness, it is awakening. It is a sign that your soul has outgrown the temporary and begun to crave the eternal, that the glitter of this life no longer satisfies, and that your heart is being pulled by something greater. This is the fifth sign that your waiting is transforming you, that Allah is gently detaching you from what is fading and connecting you to what remains, that your eyes are learning to see without seeing, that your heart is starting to believe without evidence. You find yourself trusting in Allah more than your own plans. You begin to speak more to the unseen than to people. You begin to cry, not because things are broken, but because you feel your soul coming home. You feel comfort, not from what happens, but from who is guiding what happens. When your heart begins to prefer the quiet moments with your Lord over the noise of the world, when you find stillness in remembering Him and anxiety in forgetting Him, that is not just a sign of faith, it is a sign of nearness. It is a sign that Allah is preparing you for something far greater than what you were waiting for. This detachment is not cold, it is pure. You are not giving up on the world. You are simply recognizing its place. You are not rejecting your needs. You are placing them in safer hands. You begin to speak to Allah not as a distant Lord, but as your closest companion. Your reliance shifts from outcomes to wisdom, from timing to trust, from control to surrender. And in that surrender, your heart finally breathes, your soul finally rests. So when you notice that you are drawn more to the unseen than the seen, that your heart feels heavier in distraction, but lighter in remembrance, that is not isolation. It is elevation. That is the sign that your waiting period is no longer a test, but a transition, that your soul is being guided to a peace that this world cannot offer. Sometimes the answers do not arrive as changes in your life, but as clarity in your soul. You begin to see the same events, the same struggles, the same tears, but with new eyes. You revisit old memories, and suddenly they no longer hurt the same way. They begin to teach instead of torment. They begin to whisper instead of scream. This is the sixth sign that Allah is lifting the veil from your understanding, that what once confused you begins to reveal its purpose, that the closed doors you once cried over begin to show you the rooms they protected you from, that the delays you once resented begin to shine with wisdom you had not yet earned. When your waiting period is nearing its end, Allah often gives you understanding before He gives you change, because the wisdom gained in waiting is greater than the result itself. Sometimes He allows you to feel lost so you can recognize true direction. Sometimes He lets you break so you can rebuild with stronger foundations. This clarity does not always come as revelation. It often arrives in silence. You hear a verse and suddenly it connects with your pain. You reflect on your journey and realize that every stop, every detour, every hardship had a role. Every step was a page in a story far more perfect than your plan could ever write. You begin to see how the moments of loneliness made space for deep connection with Allah. You see how the heartbreak removed what was distracting you. You see how the delay protected you from arriving too soon, unready, unrefined. When your soul begins to understand what your mind could never grasp before, know that it is not coincidence. It is divine timing. It is the work of the one who sees the full picture, guiding your heart through the unseen wisdom behind every moment. This new understanding brings softness. It makes you more patient, more grateful, more aware. It does not erase the pain, but it gives it meaning. And that meaning becomes strength. That strength becomes light, and that light becomes guidance. So when things start to make sense, when your soul begins to connect the dots, and you begin to see the perfection in what once looked like chaos, know that your waiting is not only ending, it is evolving. Your heart is entering a new chapter where peace no longer depends on what happens, but on what you now understand. There comes a moment in your waiting when your du'as begin to change, not in the words you use, but in the depth from which they rise. No longer rushed, no longer routine, but flowing from the depths of your being with a sincerity that shakes the heavens. This is the seventh sign that Allah is softening your heart, that your waiting is no longer about receiving something, but about becoming someone, that your soul is no longer demanding, but surrendering. You begin to call upon your Lord, not just because you need, but because you miss Him. Your prayers become less about what you want, and more about being heard by the one you trust more than yourself. The words come slower, more carefully, more gently, not to persuade, but to connect. You find yourself raising your hands not only in moments of despair, but in moments of love. You begin to speak to Allah in the silence of your room, as if He is the only one who could ever understand you. And in truth, He is. These invocations carry a new weight. They are soaked in tears, even when unspoken. They are not loud, but they are loud enough for the heavens to hear. For when a heart calls with sincerity, the gates of mercy do not remain closed. You no longer measure your prayers by how quickly they are answered, but by how close they bring you to the one you are speaking to. And that closeness becomes more precious than the answer itself. You feel your soul reaching through your words, as if every dua is a lifeline, every word a thread that ties you back to the divine. And even in moments when you are silent and your lips do not move, you know your heart is still calling, and that Allah still hears you. This depth, this purity, this softness is not something you created. It is something placed inside you by the one who knows the language of your soul better than you do. It is a sign that your du'as are no longer requests. They are conversations. They are signs of intimacy. So when you notice that your invocations are becoming more sincere, more heartfelt, more filled with presence than ever before, know that this is not an emotional phase. It is a spiritual shift. It is a sign that your heart has drawn closer, that your soul has been prepared, and that your waiting is nearly complete. As your waiting period nears its end, a beautiful transformation unfolds. You begin to release your grip on outcomes. You no longer clutch your hopes and dreams with desperate hands, but rather with gentle trust. You surrender not because you give up, but because you believe more deeply in the wisdom of the one who controls all things. This detachment is not apathy. It is maturity. It is the blossoming of faith that knows the Creator's plan is beyond human understanding. It is the peace that comes from knowing that whatever happens is exactly what was meant to happen. You find yourself placing your trust in Allah's timing rather than your own deadlines. You pray for relief, but you do not demand it. You ask for guidance, but you accept the path even if it is unclear. You learn to be content not with what you want, but with what Allah wills. When this detachment begins to grow in your heart, it softens the sharp edges of anxiety and fear. It frees you from the chains of frustration and impatience. It allows you to be present in the moment without being consumed by what has not yet come. This does not mean you stop hoping or striving. It means you change the way you hope and strive. You hope with humility. You strive with reliance. You hold your dreams lightly, knowing that your true peace does not depend on their fulfillment, but on the closeness to your Lord. Detachment from results is the language of the believer who has tasted patience and found it sweeter than any immediate joy. It is the heart's way of saying, I trust you. Even when I do not see the end, I believe in your mercy, even when the road is long. So, when you feel yourself letting go of control, when you find peace, not in changing your situation, but in changing your response, know that this is a sign that Allah is preparing you to receive what you have been waiting for, that your waiting period is almost over. Within you, a quiet transformation begins to take shape. It is subtle yet undeniable. Like the first light before dawn, it does not shout, but it cannot be ignored. You notice a softness in your reactions, a calmness in your thoughts, and a new patience in your heart. This is the 9th sign that Allah is working within you, preparing you for the next chapter of your journey. The person you were is slowly being replaced by someone stronger, wiser, and more connected to the divine. As your waiting period draws near its end, there are gentle actions your soul must embrace to prepare for the blessings to come. Patience remains your closest companion, but it is joined by gratitude and trust. Patience without gratitude can grow weary, and gratitude without patience can grow restless. First, be patient with yourself. The process of waiting can bring frustration and doubt. Be gentle with your heart. Allow yourself moments of vulnerability without guilt. Recognize that every feeling is part of the journey, and every struggle is a step forward. Second, nurture gratitude. Even when relief has not yet come, find reasons to thank Allah for what is already present. The breath you take, the heart that beats, the small moments of peace. These are gifts not to be overlooked. They soften the heart and open the door for more mercy. Third, place your trust fully in Allah. Trust not only His plan, but His timing. Trust that He knows what is best for you, even when you do not see the full picture. Surrender your worries, your fears, and your impatience into His hands, and feel the weight lift from your shoulders. Fourth, maintain your connection with Allah through prayer and remembrance. Do not let your heart grow distant. Continue to speak to your Lord openly, sincerely, and often. Even in silence, your heart's whisper reaches Him. Your presence in His remembrance is a source of strength. Fifth, prepare your heart for change by embracing hope. Hope is the light that breaks through darkness. It is the thread that connects your waiting to your relief. Allow yourself to dream again, to imagine again, to believe again that better days are near. During this time, be mindful of your thoughts and actions. Choose kindness over bitterness, forgiveness over resentment, calm over anxiety. Let your soul be a sanctuary of peace. Even when the world feels chaotic, remember that the end of waiting is not just about receiving, but about becoming. The person you are becoming in this season is part of the blessing, the growth, the healing. The faith built through patience are treasures that will carry you beyond this moment. So walk gently with yourself, hold tightly to hope, and lean fully into the mercy of Allah. For your waiting period is almost over, and the ease you seek is ready to embrace you. Just before the storm breaks, the skies often soften. Just before relief arrives, the heart begins to feel a gentle calm that was not there before. These are the blessings that come quietly, like a soft breeze, touching the soul without making a sound. This is the moment when patience begins to bloom into peace, when anxiety slowly melts into trust, when the heaviness in your chest starts to lift, and you begin to feel lightness. You may not fully understand yet. These blessings are signs from Allah that your waiting period is nearing its end. They come in many forms: a sudden ease in a difficult situation, a gentle smile when tears were expected, a new sense of clarity in confusion, a feeling of comfort in loneliness. Sometimes these signs are subtle and easy to miss, yet they carry the weight of mountains because they are reminders that the divine is near and mercy is unfolding, even if you cannot see it with your eyes. You may find that your prayers are answered in unexpected ways. Doors you thought closed begin to open. People you needed arrive at the right time. Circumstances shift gently but surely. These moments of ease do not erase the past struggles, but they soften their edges. They transform pain into wisdom and waiting into preparation. They are the first glimpses of the blessings that will soon fill your life. Recognize these blessings as gifts, not to be taken for granted, but to be cherished. With every small mercy, your heart grows stronger. With every gentle relief, your faith deepens. Know that these moments are a testament to the power of patience and the mercy of Allah. They are proof that no hardship is endless, no night without dawn, no tear without a smile. So when you begin to notice these quiet mercies, welcome them with open arms. Let them fill your heart with hope and your soul with gratitude, for they are the heralds of your ease, the promises of your answered prayers. Your waiting period is almost over, and these blessings are the first steps of a new beginning. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want you to remember this deeply. You are not forgotten, you are not alone. Your waiting period is almost over. Each sign we explored today is a gentle reminder from Allah that mercy is near, that relief is coming, and that your story is about to change. Hold on to that truth with every fiber of your being. When the nights feel longest and the heart feels heaviest, know that dawn is breaking just beyond the horizon. Your patience is not weakness, but strength. Your faith is not in vain, but the foundation of a new chapter. I invite you now to take a moment to subscribe to this channel so that you never miss a message of hope, strength, and guidance. You are part of a community that believes in mercy and healing and in the power of faith. Every subscription is a light in this world, every share a step toward peace. Remember that your journey is sacred and that every tear, every prayer, every moment of waiting is a thread woven into a beautiful tapestry of divine mercy. So keep walking, keep hoping, keep trusting, because the one who promised never to abandon you is closer than you think. And soon your waiting will turn into joy, your patience into victory, and your prayers into answered blessings. Subscribe now and stay connected, because this is only the beginning of a beautiful story unfolding in your life. May peace, mercy, and blessings surround you always.